Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Michelle and today I want to tell you about the time that I killed a $400 topiary and what I'm going to do differently this time because it's a common design challenge that you might have in your landscaping. So I'm here to tell you all about it so that you don't make the same mistake. Welcome to the scene of the topiary crime. This bed right here is where two beautiful topiaries once flourished for a very short time, one summer season. And here's the thing with planting a space like this. You might have a similar space in your home where either your driveway or your sidewalk is right up against your home and you want something beautiful to grow there, but you don't quite know what. Truthfully, it's taken me years to come up with what to do in this space. Originally, like I said, we had those two topiaries. Because of how close this bed was to our house, our idea was to leave the topiaries in their original container and then build a box around it so they looked like they were planted in a planter. But what I didn't do when I first planted them was look up. If I had looked up, I would have noticed that the soffits and roofline kept water from reaching the planter. And I didn't look up until, unfortunately, one of the spiral topiaries passed away and I no longer had symmetry up front. And since that, I'm afraid to admit, I think it's been like 3 or 4 years, these boxes have sat empty. But I've decided this is the year that it's time for a makeover. Actually, in the grand scheme of things that you can do to increase your curb appeal, it's overall a pretty affordable thing that you can do. So let me show you how I am going to transform this space into this space. But this time we're setting up irrigation and I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up your irrigation and put it on a timer so that your updated curb appeal is now worry-free. So let's talk about the plan for this space. This area was truly missing some height on either side of the windows. When we had the topiaries there, it looked so beautiful. But oftentimes when you're adding something really tall, you're also adding something that is proportionally pretty wide. And in this space, unfortunately, I don't have the luxury of adding something wider. So my solution to that is to turn to topiaries. You could be thinking, Michelle, why don't you choose something like a Japanese pencil holly? Those are pretty narrow. And I could, but honestly, my husband hates Japanese pencil holly. So for the sake of my marriage, we must topiary. And in the topiary world, I could try again with the spiral topiary, but honestly, it is a good amount of work and it takes a good amount of skill to maintain that shape, and that is skill that even though I've been practicing for a few years, I still don't possess. So I went on the hunt to look for topiaries that would be easier to maintain, and one thing that really drew me in was this lollipop shaped topiary. Not only because it's absolutely adorable, because it also seems like a shape that's easier to maintain over time. But because these topiaries are on the shorter side, I am going to have to go in and get planters that are much taller and bigger, which is technically not something that I budgeted for this project, but we're just gonna call this my Hanukkah gift and my anniversary gift. So let's go shopping for planters now. What helped me get an idea of the height is to set the topiaries on top of the boxes that I already had and then measure the height at which I thought they looked good, which happens to be around the 32-inch mark. So heaven help my budget, we're looking for 32-inch tall pots. Luckily, Pike had the perfect ones. I love this slate gray color. Husband approved, and now we have to figure out how to move them home and get them installed. Of course, somehow no home improvement trip can be completed without at least one trip to Home Depot. We grabbed the essentials, rocks, paver stones so that we had a nice level foundation for the planters to go on top of, as well as bubble wrap, and I'll tell you where that's going later. Installation only took a couple of hours. It was way harder than I thought it would be, and I think it was because all of the components individually were pretty heavy. We ended up using 2 bags of gravel per foundation, tamping it down with this chunk of 4x4 posts that we happen to have, making sure that it was level along the way and tamping it down so that we had a good strong foundation for the paver base and for ultimately the container. On top of the gravel, we added that paver stone that we got at Home Depot. And of course, we double checked to make sure that it was level. And then the next step was trying to get the giant planters out of the car. So that was fun. Sorry about the bad angle. I think I was more worried about not dropping the pot than I was making good content. So enjoy the butt shots of my husband And you're welcome for that free content. That's me realizing we just shot the video of my husband's bottom. I'm not saying that this is the best way to move a large container like this, but it ended up working for us. We used a blanket so that we didn't accidentally scuff the container in any way against the wagon, and it also gave us something to hold on to as we were rolling the wagon. If you're watching this and your butt cheeks are clenched and you're holding your breath for me, like, you are my people. But now imagine how it felt doing this. I think I should have taken some sort of anxiety something, a shot, because I was so scared that we were going to break this. But we didn't. No containers were harmed in the making of this project. This might ruffle some feathers, but we are not filling the entire container up with soil. One, because it would make it incredibly heavy, and two, because that is incredibly expensive, and I've already overspent. Like, this has been an entire if you give a mouse a cookie journey, because I was just supposed to pick up a topiary and add drip irrigation, and it's turned into all of this. Let me get back to why we bought the bubble wrap. First off, if you shop at a local nursery like Pike, you get the best kind of advice. And our new friend Larry, who comes from Chicago, which is a much colder climate than Atlanta, suggested that even though these containers are frostproof, if we wanted to take an extra measure to make sure that they would be okay and have some room for the soil to expand, if we ever got another freeze like we did, where things got down to 9 degrees that one year a few years back, we could line the inside of the pot with bubble wrap. And I'm not sure if this will work or not, but it's certainly not going to hurt anything, so it's definitely worth a try for $10. We use sticks and logs and things to fill about the bottom half of the container, and then layered in the rest with potting soil. I'm using Soil 3's veggie mix, which has some sand and things for drainage already mixed in. I added a little bit more perlite for some extra drainage, and then added in the topiary. The topiary is a blue globulosa spruce. It is going to eventually be 3 feet tall and 5 feet wide. I don't think that will happen overnight, so this is something that I'm going to be shaping and controlling the size of, but I am very much looking forward to it widening out and thickening out into a cuter little ball, because right now it's looking a little bit like Bob from Beetlejuice. Next, I'm installing this RainPoint 2-zone smart host timer with the smart hub. This connects to your phone and has so many different features that make it really easy to automatically set up watering to plants. This can pair with Alexa, so you can use voice control to water. There's a rain delay feature, and there's a manual watering feature. It pairs with an app, and installation was a breeze. The connections are super tight, so I didn't get any leaks, and the smart hub was just something that you had to plug in. It paired with my phone on the very first time, and there were lots of options to set up plans. So really, it's this product that's going to keep all of my pots up front alive. In terms of the irrigation system that we used, I got one that's specifically for containers. I'll link it below in the description, but it's super easy to set up. It's kind of like the tube version of K'Nex, if you used to play with K'Nex back in the day. So that wraps up this project and how we decided to approach adding height to a narrow bed. I feel like this goes without saying, but just in case I should say it, these pots were definitely an investment and something that we saved up years for. We've had this idea for a very long time, and we've had these empty boxes here for a very long time, because for us, these larger purchases are things that we definitely think about and save up for. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not saying, oh, yay, no big deal. Just dropped a ton of money on this project, and so should you. But instead, I want to share with you one way that you can approach some of these problem spaces that you might have, whether it's a sidewalk or your driveway. Here's one way that you can add curb appeal to those narrow spaces without planting right up against the house. The last thing that you want to do is to plant a small tree or shrub right up against your home. These small trees or shrubs will grow up into huge trees or shrubs, and I think that the general advice is to not plant anything 3 to 5 feet away from the house, and this right here is 3 feet. So instead of planting right up against the house, which could cause a buckling in the sidewalk or future issues down the line with the foundation, this is the solution that we went with after many years of saving and thinking, and I'm so happy that we did. Also, my goal these days is to make my life easier in the long haul and try to minimize the amount of maintenance that I have to do in order to keep my garden looking in tip-top shape. And so that's where the RainPoint timer and the irrigation really came in clutch. And honestly, one of the things that I'm going to do throughout next year is try to install as much irrigation, as many beds and planters as I can on a timer, on irrigation, so that during the summer, I don't get as burnt out watering, because this year has been a doozy. So I'm sharing this with you in case it helps give you any ideas for some of your problem spaces. I shared this project on Instagram first, and one of my realtor friends reached out to me, and she says that she always advises her clients to invest in some statement pots because they really amp up your home's curb appeal, and the curb appeal of your home will really sell your house. I saw statistics that increasing your home's curb appeal can add to your home an additional 5 to 10% of the value of your current home. So if you think about it in terms of what we have added to our home's value, even though we're not selling, maybe this is kind of free. I don't know. I'm not here to argue the math. Just wanted to share the perspective of a realtor and investing in larger quality pots and what that adds to your home value and your home's curb appeal. I want to close this video by saying thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting my channel, and I will see you in the next video.